Okay, so look at the perspective of that drawing right there, that picture. You see, you're out here looking in, you can see him actually connecting them, right? Okay.
And you're also doing what I just said is, oh, what's he making? But I could look at the whole thing and say, oh, well, that could be a camel, that could be, whatever.
Right, exactly. So let's look at this picture.
Now what is it?
Right. Now all you see is a bunch of dots with this figure pointing to one of the dots, right?
It's like a ball.
Okay, but you don't see this. You can't see all the dots, right? You're only seeing, what, a close-up. Okay, so what if we took that down just to one dot?
This is like the eye doctor.
Okay, so here I'm gonna bring the sliver back up, okay, and I'm also gonna get the whiteboard because we're gonna do some things. When you are a part or a small part or a sliver, you would present as a band member or a dot on the page. So just take that in, okay, because I'm gonna give you some examples. You cannot see the whole picture. You're only but a speck and a piece of a larger puzzle.
Yes. Explain, excuse me, what a sliver is, or should we do that now?
You go ahead while I'm pulling this other one up here.
Sliver is still a part and still pretty much acts, it acts like a part, but it's so skinny. It's so much like a sliver, or like she mentioned, a speck. I had parts, but then I started seeing these parts of me that were just like little smithereens, little specks, little slivers, and those are really so narrow. You know, parts have limited perspective, but regular part compared to a sliver, the sliver is like 1/100th or 1/1000th of a regular part. So if you know what a regular part acts like and feels like, these slivers almost feel like wisps that they're just blow away with the wind. And I had parts of me that would look like little specks, and God said to me, we're going to gather all of them, and I know exactly where they all fit and where they all go into the greater, bigger picture. So it's amazing the love and the mercy, the care of God to gather them. So they're parts, but they just have that, they've just been sliced off, slice. And it's really painful, and it's hard to understand them because they're so narrow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I guess what I'm thinking is, a scientist, I suppose, how did they get sliced off from a big part? How did all those little slices appear?
That's a good question, very good question. I like that scientist, you, and the rest of you. There are a couple different ways. One is if you're dealing with people what we call evil people that are following Satan and doing witchcraft, and they're doing this on purpose, causing dissociation on purpose in order to get control of someone or mess with somebody. The devil camps to still kill and destroy. So if they are doing that, they will methodically go through and say, well, they'll say this to a person, or okay, well, we're going to kill you if you tell. Boom, that's a little sliver. We're gonna kill you like this. We're going to use a knife. We're going to use a gun. We're going to, all these different ways. Like you just go through, almost like going through the dictionary of all the different things you could do. And now here's another sliver. We're gonna kill your family if you tell somebody. We're gonna, you know what I mean. So they methodically do it. How it works if they're not trying to do it on purpose is a similar way, but it's not known that they're doing it. But it's more like when an abuse. Help me, Lord. I think this is true. It's just come to me. When abuse happens over and over and over, like it did with me with the sexual abuse, because it was within my home, and the person was right there all the time. It kept on happening. That bring me into slivers, because it wasn't. If it just kept on happening to this one part, well, pretty soon that part would be able to go, wait a second, we're going to stop this here. But it kept on. It got into all these little pieces of it, so that I could survive, but it became little slivers. It's just mostly when it happens over and over in a similar way with the same person or the same circumstance that you get more slivers. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's like they're threatening to kill you or somebody else, but they're not just, they're doing it in a way where you can't say that they actually did that. But you can feel the effects of it.
Totally, very good. And that's what, because they'll keep on slivering you off until those slivers are separate so that they can't reform, except God does it, but they think they can't reform. So that what you said earlier about what someone told you, don't tell, or, so-and-so is not gonna believe you. I don't wanna tell your
Mom's
details.
gonna lose her mind.
Right, and then, see, that was, and then Sherry said he knew exactly what to say to you, so that created those slivers. So it can be different for everybody.
But the funny thing about it is that I had those parts, the people that were saying, oh, she'll lose her mind, was like somebody completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
But
They connected that, and so when she asked you what happened, you couldn't tell her because all those slivers, okay, all the slivers that
Even
were,
though they were coming from different angles,
yeah.
different people.
oh yeah,
Right, because remember, parts are formed not even by trauma, but by incorrect conclusions.
Yeah.
So a well-meaning person could have said, oh, no, don't say that, that's gonna hurt that person. You as a little girl or as a teenager would go, oh gosh, yeah, I can't say that. But wait, if you wait it out, this is what's happening to whether this person could handle it. Yes, you needed to say it, and you should have been able to, but your conclusion in your mind was, oh my gosh, I can't tell because these people are, this is my aunt who's telling me this is someone older, and so they must know and I don't know.
right.
It's sort of like watching my mom and how she would react to things. And from what I've seen happen in the past in the family, is my perception was that if Dad walked away, or if they separated, or she was left alone with the whole family, that I would get the blame.
Right.
And I was sure of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. But you were also told that, right?
Well, yeah. And of course, I knew my mom was unhappy because there was times too when she would say, if we'd say, bye Mom, have a good day, or she was really going through something, or maybe I won't be here when you get home.
Oh my goodness.
Do you have any idea how I felt all day long?
Awful.
Awful.
I had to get home to see if she was still there.
Right. And yet you had to be in school, and you're that reality plus the reality of, oh my gosh, my mom was going to have to
And
move.
that happened more than once.
Wow.
So it was all these things. I can see what you're talking about, slivers now.
Yeah.
That's where I saw some of these things, methods that Satan uses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all trickery, lies. He's the father of lies. So.
Okay, let's get back to this for now.
Yes.
Okay, so this perception comes into this as well. So I just want to say, I'm going to show you this because this came up when we were talking and praying last Tuesday, that the perspective of a part, okay, if you're looking at a marching band, have you ever seen the marching band where they do the halftime show and they can actually form pictures and, different things? Well, we're going to watch one here. But imagine yourself, okay, a part of you is a member of that band. Okay, so your perception isn't what we're going to be seeing because we're going to be looking up and over. Their perception is down here on the ground level, marching, playing their instrument, okay? So keep that in mind while we watch this.
Try to think of what their perspective is. It's totally different from the big picture.
Oh, so we're thinking about their perspective.
Yeah, what is that each person's perspective, and how if each person were a part, you can see how the parts have limited perspective of what the whole picture is.
Okay, so we're going to refer to the video we just saw as the marching band that parts of us represent as that one person that's marching in the band. So it would be a member, so their perspective would be at ground level, but they don't get to see how the whole picture comes together while they're doing it. Of course, it can be videotaped and they can watch it later on, but their view is ground level. Okay. okay? And they're usually seeing what's in front of them and to the side, but that would be it.
And how'd you feel when you saw that, when you looked at that and thought about their perspective?
Felt kind of ominous.
I sort of like I felt, man, I gotta do this just right. And I was conscious of every move I made.
Right.
But what if you don't even know what the whole picture is? What if nobody ever even clued you in as to what it looks like?
Right.
Well, that doesn't matter because you were trained to do a certain thing and you knew what you had to do. You knew you had to stay in line or you had to follow. They're following somebody. They're getting direction from somebody.
Right. In that case, in the actual marching band. But if that's representing a part, so then there you've got this part that all they see is, I see this kind of shadowy thing over there, and I'm going this way, and I don't really, and I'm kind of hearing this music, but I'm doing this, and not even knowing what the big picture is.
Right.
Then that's very frustrating.
So you're talking about like maybe the part within a person?
Yeah, like a big person on the field there was a part in a person. Even the whole band is the person. But each person is a part.
Yes.
So how would it feel? Like I said, when they made that Superman diamond and the person in the front, everyone was behind them. And then had to do like this. Well, there's a whole picture going on, but I'm not even aware of it. So this whole picture could be abuse, but I'm not aware of it. I only know that I'm doing like this. And I've got to stay near this line right here. But I don't understand the whole big picture.
Well, if
It's
I-
very
if I was a
limiting.
part,
Yes.
Very limiting.
if I
Yes.
was a part, I would think,
Yes,
what's
thank you,
going
Dee.
on here?
Well, it also helps you understand the limited perspective. They have a limited perspective for a reason.
Right.
Just like that band member has a limited perspective. They can only see what's in front of them
Right.
and a little bit to the
Well,
side.
that takes me back to when I was a child.
Yeah.
So,
That is the point. That is the
That's
point
the
right
point.
there. Very good.
what is going on here? Why is this happening? Why is he doing that? Why,
Okay, hold on to that.
And what am I supposed to do about it? Yeah.
Hold on to that, okay? So now we're gonna use another example, and we're gonna use dots. Okay? So in your picture, you have a picture, the one that has all the dots on it. You see that one? And it looks like two faces. When you first look at that, I mean, from this perception, you're looking at it, all you see is dots. What does that look like to you? What is your first thought when you're looking at that page?
They look like they're happy and they're dancing.
Okay. Does the number of dots overwhelm you?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It looks like bugs to me at first. Before I saw
Okay.
the faces, it's like, oh, there's a lot of bugs. And there's a lot more dots than the kind we used to do in school.
Exactly. Because these are dot puzzles for adults. Okay, these are not children. Children dot, and there's a reason for me doing that. Because I wanted you to see what it looked like with a lot more on the page. I chose this one because it was people, but I was really looking for one that had nothing drawn in. So if you had nothing drawn in, you would have no idea what that picture was.
Right.
Do you know
And,
what else I
and if
was
you cover
thinking?
up her mouth, you just put your finger over her mouth, you really can't tell that they're happy now. He could be killing her.
And
Okay.
Yeah, see?
Another thing I was looking at is that she's there, she looks like she's happy, but at the same time, she doesn't really know what he could do to her.
See, I'm hearing from parts.
Yeah, that's
These are parts.
Yeah.
She's got that trusting look on her face.
Okay.
Yeah, right now.
That could change, right?
See, you're feeling what, yeah, I see that, yeah.
Okay, now the second sheet I gave you, this one I made up myself, so if the dots don't connect quite right, I was doing it in a hurry. But actually, does anybody have any idea what you think that top thing is?
Well,
Just by looking at it. Give me your best
I
guess.
thought maybe it could be a monster.
Okay.
It spells out a word.
Yes, it does, actually. Karen, any thoughts?
Looks like a P. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No,
Okay.
wait, that's an F.
Okay.
F.
Right. What it spells out is fear. So each thing I've separated out is a letter.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now down here at the bottom, the one with all the dots, that's actually a stick figure, but it's got thick limbs in order for me to be able to have you connect them.
Which one?
This one down here.
It's like lens.
Limbs,
Oh.
like arms and legs,
Yeah.
so that you could connect them all together. And then the one over here to the right, or, yeah. Help here, says help, yeah. Okay, so if you think about parts, let's say parts are a dot. Okay. And all they know is them. They know, unless they got other parts of them, like in the marching band, they got other parts around them that they're connected to. So I'll just ask you this, I don't know if you can think of anything, but what could you think of an example of something that gets revealed that the parts can actually put together? Okay, that would be something like something you remembered. Like what I remembered, not too, last week or so with the threat of being killed. Okay, so let's say I have this part right here. I'm going to draw this one here. Just going to do it the easy way here. Okay, so God starts going there with this part, starts bringing some connection together. Okay, so the whole process of the parts getting rescued, they're rescued for destiny principles, and you know how parts get rescued through prayer, going there with God, right? So God starts making the connection. So, oops, my dot's off here. So what do I get? Got the letter K.
The letter K.
Sesame Street. That's what it reminded me of. Okay, so I'm like, wow, so God's bringing this stuff together, starting to understand the part, and just for an example, so all of a sudden I got this letter K. Well, what does K mean? So more truth comes in, and there's more dots, okay? Things are starting to remember things. Feeling emotion. Okay. All of a sudden everything starts to connect. And next thing I know, I got the word kill. Okay, so for me, I just remembered the paralysis and feeling like I was gonna die. Okay, so that emotion was there. I was feeling really strong. Those emotions, that intensity, and as Karen prayed with me through text and talking on the phone and those type of things, next thing I know, I started to remember, right, this. Of course, there were other words too. But maybe at the beginning, I was only feeling that.
Yeah. Panicky, shaky.
Then, and I see them, for me, these were lots of slivers for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the slivers brought together the letter, then the other slivers with each letter, and then they would create more words. And then all of a sudden, everything started coming together. So that's what I mean when I say connect the dots. So you have this part that knows their perception, what's real for them, and then you have all these other parts of you, or slivers of parts of you, and all of a sudden God brings them all together to make sense.
Because it's all there.
Yeah.
Just like in a dot picture or any marching band, the whole thing is there, but you can't see it.
You can't see it. You can't perceive it.
Right.
Does that make sense? When you're a part, or a small part, or a sliver, you would present as a band member or a dot, as we saw in the demonstration. You cannot see the whole picture, you're but a speck, okay? A piece of the larger puzzle. So, no one looks at the speck, no one but God sees every speck.
Right.
Which is so cool.
You know, that's very cool.
And no speck is insignificant, no part insignificant. We count, we all count. So all parts say, we count,
Yeah.
because we are part of you.
Right. Like I said before, it was so significant to me the first time I saw these specks like smithereens in me, that God came and said, I am going to gather you all. I care, no, none of it's going to be left out. Because it's like a shattered mirror that how in the world, maybe you could take some big pieces of mirror and put it back together, but the little dust of it and the specks of it, there's just no way, it's impossible. But God can do it. And that's what he made very clear to me. He was going to get each speck. And the specks feel very painful.
Yes. Yeah, they usually are.
Can I say this?
No, you
That
can't.
might be even related.
Mm-hmm.
John had an experience, remember he said he had a out-of-body experience?
Mm-hmm.
And God took him way up. And because John was asking him, where am I? Can you see me? And God told him to look down. You see that speck down there? That's you.
Oh, wow.
And then God could see all the specks inside of us.
Now I'm wondering if he was telling him something there, that maybe he, I don't know if he grabbed hold of it. Because, I mean, if you are a speck here on earth,
Mm-hmm.
and God is looking down on us, and we're each a speck,
Mm-hmm.
he wants to bring us all together.
Oh, that's that macro.
Mm-hmm.
That's the macro. You know what I'm saying? So what I hear you saying is micro, God cares about each speck of us, each part of us, and wants to bring us all together as one. If each person is this macro, every person is a speck, and God's going to bring us all together as one.
That's what I saw when I realized that happened. I brought that to my memory.
I love that. I got it. It took me a couple minutes to get it what you were saying, but I love it. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
And we know that.
right.
We know that that's what he wants to do.
Exactly. Yeah. One body. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the parts perspective here. So, the parts say, we are this small dot, and we're all alone.
Mm-hmm.
We are a small dot, and we see other dots around us, but we don't connect.
Right. Sometimes we don't like the other dots.
That's right.
We don't.
How else do we parts see ourselves? We're just dots. Yay!
Yay, that's cool.
We
That's a
definitely
part.
see ourselves as being alone. No one can help us.
That's the marching band perspective, which we saw. We parts are here marching in this place. We play our instrument well, and we march really well. We know where we are and what we are doing from their perspective. However, we cannot see the big picture. We don't know what is happening.
Right.
So then God starts to connect the dots. And here's everybody. All the different parts. There's you, Mom. How do we connect the front reality with the parts reality?
Well, let's look at a definition of the word connection, first of all. And I just want to say that we actually, by mistake, skipped this part when we were doing the original teaching. But when I went back to edit the video, I really realized that it was so important that I didn't want to skip it. So I'm just inserting a little recording now with this slide that Sherry had made. So she had put up the definition of connection. So let's take a look at that, because what we're going to be doing is making a connection between the front reality and the parts reality to become more and more one person, a whole person, as God intends for us to be. So the word connection, listen to this and think about the two realities coming together as you hear it. Connection, something that joins. That's good. Two or more things that have the same goal to join, link, or fasten together. And certainly the front and the parts have the same goal, and also God has the same goal, and for each other we have that same goal. So we want to be whole. We want to join, link, and fasten together. And not just be loose together, but be glued together, right? Unite or bind. To bring together in thought. To be in harmony with one another. And like I always say, it's one thing if conflict is outside of you, but when the conflict is internal and inside of you, it is so, so awful, so painful, so difficult. And that's what you have when you have different groups of parts in you. A lot of them are in conflict with each other. So to come and connect with groups of parts, with other parts, with one single part, with one single sliver, to be able to come back together is an awesome thing that only is done by God, the Spirit of God. So we thank you, God, for that. So we come back and be in harmony with each other, harmony with our whole self and our whole being, then we can move forward. Again, this is micro in a person. Macro, like Linda just mentioned. Macro being that we're each a speck in God's eyes on the earth, but he takes all the specks and brings them together in one body, which is amazing and only can be done by the Spirit of God too. Praise God. Another definition of connection: being linked together with logically related elements in order to draw a conclusion. In this case, it's going to be a conclusion about your reality, to bring it all into one reality. Another definition of connection: to draw conclusions. Okay? And this is like when we say, that makes sense. We say that makes sense a lot. When we're praying for someone and we're getting to know the parts of them and calling them to come forth and going into those spaces, all the things that we know from Rescued for Destiny basics. So when we're praying for someone or we're going there with God ourselves and praying for ourselves, what happens is you start to see these pieces, like the dots, like the members of the marching bands, and you begin to be able to say to that person or to yourself, that makes sense. So that if your teacher, if it comes together that your teacher embarrassed you in front of your class when you were young, it makes sense that you would then feel uncomfortable even as an adult or through your teenage years through school, of raising your hand and giving your opinion about something, or at a conference, in a conference table, when you have a job, to be able to say something because that part of you feels like it's going to get in trouble. Okay? So when all the different feelings and thoughts come together and connect, then you'll say, oh, that makes sense why I do that. None of this is illogical. None of it is crazy. And you're not crazy. It all makes sense. Very good point here. If the parts think it doesn't make sense, then they will stay separate. Why? Because there's too much pain. So to come together into something that doesn't make sense, that's why they left in the first place. Because it hurt too much, because it was overwhelming, it was too much, it didn't make sense, so they had to separate. So now, once it makes sense, they say, oh, okay, and they can start coming together. And actually it happens pretty quickly after they start coming together. So we need to continue to be open to God, to pursue Him, to know Him, yes, but to be open to Him, to His Spirit, to go anywhere in us, to search us, to know us, to bring truth into these very suffering parts of us, and so that connection can happen and we can come back to be whole, like He intended, and go on and fulfill our destinies.
This is the scripture that he gave us the other day, Karen. Mm-hmm. So, and I prefaced it with, when the dots come together, then your light will shine like the dawn and your wounds will quickly heal. And this is scripture God gave me for the parts of me that were connecting. Your God will walk before you and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind, be your rear guard. And then we went into free those who are wrongly imprisoned, lighten the burden of those who work for you, let the oppressed go free, oops, there's an error, and remove the chains that bind people. then your salvation will come like the dawn. Oh, I put on there twice. And your wounds will quickly heal. But it's worth saying it again.
That's right.
Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. Then when you call, the Lord will answer, yes, I'm here. He will quickly reply. So God connects the dots on the inside, and he brings them together to get the bigger picture. And then as they come as the bigger picture, then we begin to get rescued. And the way that we've known that we've gotten rescued is that then God comes in and rescues those parts, and they come to the front, and then they blend into the front. But this is that deeper parts of all the little dots and the fragments and the pieces. And
Well, I think it will go faster now that we know this, and faster now that the parts know this, because what I was feeling on Tuesday, and I'm feeling it now again, is that the parts themselves are empowered. The parts don't
Yes.
have to wait necessarily for the front, for someone else to come and rescue them. I'm speaking to all the parts right now, by the Holy Spirit. And God the Father, Jesus, we're all there. Speaking of the parts, saying you all can organize and get together and start coming together with the other parts that are dots and the other marching band members and start to come together. All the slivers can come together, and before we even are aware of you, not that we're trying not to be aware of you, we want to be aware of you, but before that you can come together now and come forward and have a parts revolution where it starts with the parts getting together. It's amazing and it's new, and we're going to see how this works. But it's that the parts can come and start to get together and start to make that voice so they can be heard, start to move forward, and then there will be the front participation and opening up the way and getting them out, but they don't have to wait. Parts don't have to wait anymore.
right, and what you see on the pictures too, and any dot-to-dot type picture that you're doing, they're all numbered, or they're lettered, or they're some reference so you know what starts and then what follows. So when you were talking, I heard part of me go, well, I'm number 17, where's 16 and 18? I want to connect with them. Instead of, 17 can't go connect with 1 or 100. So
17's not all by itself now.
Right.
17 knows it's not by itself.
yeah, so, and little parts of us, they can do colors, they can match with colors, they can match with 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 up to 10 or whatever, or A, B, C, and
Right.
so,
In the parts world, it's all,
yeah.
numbers
Yes, I
don't
know.
even matter, so it's even easier than that, so.
Yeah, they can even, but my parts are like, well, I'm gonna look for number 16 and 18. But they can connect however, they can look for the one that's closest to them, because that's usually the one that you're connecting with, but they said, oh yeah, I heard them, they said, we're gonna do it our way.
Yeah. Stop telling us how to do it, Brent.
That's
Yes.
funny, yeah.
I'm eager to see the parts do this and come forward and to see what happens next. I'm assuming that they'll get together, then the front will be aware. But it's just going to be, it's kind of like the front moving towards them and then getting together with each other and starting to move forward without having to wait and be stuck and paralyzed.
And sometimes there's a main leader.
Right, main, right.
Let me know how it goes.
The main leader of the parts, of a group of parts is a leader, yeah.
That was when I got free from that, the scientific design, was a strong part,
Yeah.
a leader part.
She needed to know everything,
Yeah,
and she wasn't letting anybody out.
and she was leading the rest of telling them what to do and stay back, she was protecting them.
Right, yep, a lot of the parts do that, yeah. Those leader parts are there to guard, so the other ones don't get hurt, but a lot of times they prevent, unknowingly they prevent the help from coming in there, so I think
Yeah.
that's what you're talking about, yeah. So truth comes, but now we're speaking to those leader parts of groups. Go ahead and turn around and go and bring this truth, help these parts understand, but the little parts are understanding it too, so you all can get together and help each other.
Yeah, and I believe this is an amazing truth, like they all are, but this one was hard to birth, so
Yes.
let me
better be
let me know
amazing.
how it
It
goes.
better be amazing, yeah. For all you went through. Yeah. Well, I just want to share, excuse me, that the very next day after we prayed about this and all this was kind of coming to light, so that was Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, I was walking to help a volunteer someplace. Anyway, all of a sudden, I saw this dot to dot in me, like Sherry just showed us on the paper, and the dot spelled out silence, the word silence. And I had this knowing that a huge thing in me was that I had to be silent, that I couldn't tell what was happening. And yet that hasn't been a theme in me really. And so I was like, oh wow, it was new information to me. And that was coming from the parts that got together, they connected the dots and said silence. And I still need to go there more now that I'm talking about it. I knew that I couldn't speak up. I knew, like what you were saying, you can't speak up and say, no, don't do it. I knew all that, and those parts have gotten rescued. I got the ability to speak up. But I never knew that it was a huge thing that I had to be silent, and there was nothing to do with that silence. So now that those parts gathered together and showed me that big picture, they kind of zoomed out, and now I see that. It is true what I just said, thank you, that the front me can now go, oh, that is a big thing that and it immediately started me thinking, wait a second, in what ways did I have to be silent? I never thought of myself as a silent person because I've always been blah, blah. I'm the middle child, I'm the funny one, the creative one, everything like that, outgoing in a lot of ways. So silence was not a character trait. But for these parts, they had to be silent. And so they didn't get to participate in all the fun that I had, when I was a kid and beyond. And so I am looking at that and going, okay, there's new information.
Right, and that's what I'm seeing even as you talk, the parts are going to be able to get together kind of with no help from the front.
Right.
And come together and be able to tell the front, hey, wait a minute, and here, there's this key thing, either a picture or a word, like what happened to you as a word, and that is going to bring the two realities together. That's going to bring that connection or that bridge. Wow, I really saw that with you. It's like, oh, well, they're telling you about this, now the front you can go there with God and they can get rescued.
Right. And
all the other ones that are connected to the silence. So it's not just these, but other ones of you that will be able to get free. So I'm like, wow, God, you are going to speed this up, and it is going to go faster because now the parts are actively participating, and they're learning how to navigate that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I see them very positive. They're actually happy to be dots now because now they can find the other dots and they can connect.
Yeah, instead of it being a tragedy and traumatic and very painful to be a dot.
And alone.
Yeah. Isolated.
Well, I hear them all in here.
Yeah. No, when you said that, when you said that the parts that spelled out silence, not just they will get rescued, but the rest of them that had to be silent too, they were happy that then them getting together then helped the other parts of me. So they can all come out in groups, but it's kind of like they get glued together and then they can come out as a group. So
that's the connection. Oh, I think once the connection is made, it can't be unconnected.
Right, because they used to be connected, and when someone came in, or some circumstances or whatever, how parts are made different ways, they get separated. But yeah, you're right. Once they're connected back, it's like glued. And it reminds me of the scripture, 1 Corinthians 6:17, about being glued to God, which is, but those who are joined to the Lord are one spirit with Him. So we're glued to God. That word joined means glued. And so the parts are glued together.
Yes.
And because they are one spirit, they are one soul, they are one mind, they are one heart, they are one person. And then that group can, wow, it's kind of like chemistry. I'm seeing like that group of dots that's now connected now can go and find another group of dots that got connected.
Bonds.
Yeah, the bonds. It's like the chemical. And I always loved chemistry because it had cool pictures of H2O, and there's the H, and there's the other H, and there's this. Yeah, I remember that covalent bonds and all. But that's what I'm saying is this group of silence dots in me that's now together. It's going to move around and find those other groups, and they're all going to connect and make a whole me really even faster.
Right, and we're made in God's image, and God is a whole God, and He's connected. Right. So if He's connected, then He wants us to be fully connected, and then we can connect with Him.
Right. Even more.